BK himself, Tony Khan, appeared on Busted Open this week amongst a whole bunch of other people. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Tony Khan was asked by Tommy Dreamer during this interview what he thought of Chris Jericho going over and doing the podcast with Stone Cold Steve Austin on the WWE Network. Here's what Tony Khan had to say.
Hey, Tony, we heard from Steve Austin, his side, but this truly, if you're under contract, it's a two-sided contract. Now, you are the forbidden door. How did this come about for you? Because you could have said no, but how did you allow Chris Jericho to go on the Steve Austin podcast?
Well, it's a great story, Tommy. Basically, what happened was I had never even considered this was going to be a possibility. When I'd heard from Chris that this was something they wanted to do, I had to think about it for a minute. He and Steve apparently had talked, and Steve had asked Chris if he had interest in doing this program, or I guess, they'd had a conversation. It came up. But when Chris brought it up to me, at first I was taken aback because the idea of Chris doing something on Peacock on WWE's channel is obviously going to give me pause. But when he said it was Steve hosting the show, I didn't have to think very hard about it. It's kind of, Busted Open is an independent show, but I really like being on with you guys. I really trust you and enjoy these times we have together. And I really feel that way about Steve, even though Steve works with WWE, and even though that's another wrestling company that we compete with, I trust Steve immensely. And obviously I trust Chris. And just like I would trust Chris to do a great job on Busted Open, I trust him to do a great job with Steve. And I trust Steve to be a great interviewer. And they're both friends of mine. And I feel like it's probably going to be a very good show. I haven't watched it yet, but Chris told me I'm really going to like it. And it's a great chance for us to go out and promote AEW to a different set of fans. So I was all for it. And definitely Steve being the host had a lot to do with that.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for everybody. There's no reason why, there would be no good reason for a guy like Tony Khan to not let Chris Jericho do it. First of all, if he didn't, this is good for Chris Jericho's brand. It keeps him out there. It keeps him in everybody's consciousness. It keeps them thinking about him, keeps him fresh. So for Jericho, this is good. So if Tony Khan just refused Jericho doing it, Jericho could say, yeah, okay, I'll listen to you. But because he's under contract. But that would probably, go a long way towards some heat between Tony Khan and Jericho. It would if I was Jericho. I really want to go there. I think this is good for my brand. You're going to tell me no because you just don't want me to? Because of your fucking ego? Okay. That's fine, but now I'm not so friendly with you. Now I'm not going to do big favors for you as much. Now these are the things that make you, like a Kevin Nash and Scott Hall used to say, they got to a point where they were in WCW where they were just there collecting a paycheck. Some would feel like they always felt like that, but they lost their passion for it. They didn't care, and they were pissed off at Bischoff for firing X-Pac, so they were just sitting on their hands, doing the bare minimum. And that would be the kind of shit that if a Tony Khan told Chris Jericho, you can't do this, that's the kind of thing that I think a Chris Jericho would have a problem with, and that would stir up some issues going forward. B, as I just said, or two, or whatever the fuck, like I said, Tony Khan, this would just be an ego play. If he didn't want to let Chris Jericho appear on the WWE Network, it would be strictly because of his own ego. Because he's my AEW guy, and I'm not going to let him appear on a WWE Network. He was well within his rights contractually, to say no to that and to not want it. But it would have been purely for his ego, because it doesn't make any business sense to not let Chris Jericho do that. Unless Chris Jericho says something stupid on the podcast. Here's my fear, because he is on the WWE Network, because he is with Stone Cold Steve Austin, because he wants to babyface himself with the WWE diehard fans. I'm afraid he might go on there and downplay AEW. I'm doing this little thing now and I'm having fun, but boy, the WWE, that was really the big time. Or that was really the best part of my life, and it probably was. But regardless, I'm worried he's not there as an AEW roster member. I'm worried that he's there as a WWE legend. And those are two very different interviews. Not that they're not it's gonna be a WWE centric interview. We all know this. We know for a fact, and some of you might be listening to this because this drops early, Sunday morning. Early like Sunday morning. See, I changed the early with the easy or whatever and sang it horribly. But, if you're listening to this on Monday or whatever, you've probably already seen this podcast. So I am going to guess here that this is going to be a very WWE career centric. I hope that Jericho represents AEW. I hope he talks about it. I hope it is discussed more than just passing, because I do think they will address it. They're going to talk about it. But is it going to just be a passing thing? At the end of the podcast, is it going to be like, oh, yeah, hey, by the way, I hear you're doing this new thing. How's that going for you? All right. Or where can guys see you going forward? Something quick like that. But I hope they get into it. I hope, what made you leave the WWE? Why did you decide to sign with AEW instead? I want to hear those fucking questions asked, because Stone Cold Steve Austin is the kind of guy that's going to deliver it. Like, his interviews are deep. He's a fantastic interviewer. He really is. He knows, like, he covers the career. He's got enough notes, or did enough homework to kind of know what to talk about, to walk his guests through their career. But at the same time, he's not afraid, because he's Stone Cold, and he's just got balls like that. Who cares if he pisses somebody off, is what I'm trying to say. He don't care if he pisses somebody off. He's going to ask the tough questions. Not that he asks got you questions or stupid questions, but he's not afraid to get into your business and ask why and what happened, what really happened. Why did you do that? How did you feel about that? Those are the kind of questions that Steve's really good at asking and putting people on the spot for, and not really letting them get off with an easy pass. He'll even follow up. He'll press you harder. He's really good at that. So I hope this is a good, thorough, in-depth interview with Jericho. I'm glad Tony Khan's on board with it. I'm glad he's out promoting it. This is just good for all parties. Triple H, we talked about last week, what Triple H addressed it, and he said we're open for business. And I don't think that means a talent swap with AEW, but these are the kind of little things. Remember back when Ric Flair got to attend the Hall of Fame and Christian got to make an appearance on TNA? I think Tony Khan's the type of businessman that is willing to work with people in that way. So I don't think this will be the last time, if this goes good, that a AEW talent that maybe was a WWE talent can be used for something, or just be allowed to appear at the fucking Hall of Fame or something once they're allowed to have people back, or be a part of a fucking documentary. You get my point, right? That's what this is. This is the road that we're going on. If this goes good, it's good for all parties. If AEW gets mentioned, if they are given honorable amount of time, not a passing glance, but they're given their fair due. Let's face it, Chris Jericho's entire career took place other than AEW, other than the last year. So it's going to be it's not going to be the whole podcast. I don't expect that. And if you do, you shouldn't. But it should be talked about. Like I said, it should be asked. Why did you decide to go there? Ask more about it. Okay, now that you're there, how do you like it? Or what do you see your future there? Or just fucking, I don't know. I'm not Steve Austin, but you get what I'm saying. You understand where I'm coming from, right? Just, Steve, get to the bottom of it. Give it honorable mention. Everybody's going to be happy. WWE gets a great interview the night following WrestleMania, night 2. AEW gets mentioned on the WWE Network and gives them a little bit more credibility. It's just all around good shit, and I'm looking forward to it. By the way, so here's a note on this, because the interview is happening tonight as you listen to this. I have not obviously seen it and therefore cannot cover it on today's podcast. But if by the time I get all the way to next week, it's going to be old news. Everybody's already have been talked about it Monday, Tuesday, whatever. So I'm going to actually drop a little bonus. It's going to be on the podcast feed as a bonus. And then, if you're listening to it here on the podcast feed, if you listen on YouTube, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it up as a clip. Like I have the other clips on YouTube. I'm just going to throw this up as an extra clip. So, later on Sunday night or possibly sometime Monday, there will be a clip that'll show up where I will just specifically address the Stone Cold Broken Skull sessions with Chris Jericho, and we'll find out what actually happens. So until then, let's move the fuck on, huh? Hey, thanks for checking out that clip. Don't forget to check out other clips here on the channel. And while you're there, throw a like, throw a subscribe. And don't forget to check out full episodes each and every Sunday of the Pro Wrestling Podcast.